This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, see in the big red letters it says Alex, that's me. And the name of the show is in white, it's the Ramble. And we're here until midnight tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, there he is. Look at me. There he is, Stephen Kravitz. Look at me,
hey,
Stephen.
Alex.
Look at me.
Yeah, you look like you got beat up.
I got beat up by a ophthalmic surgeon.
What exactly did they do?
What they did is they took the lids, upper lid and bottom lids, and they lifted them, the upper ones,
Okay.
and then tightened up the bottom. Because what was happening was I was like this all the time.
Right.
All right. And so only half my pupil was exposed, and so it was harder for me to see. If I wanted to watch television, I'd have to, open my eyes like this.
Right.
So
right.
now I don't have to do that. It's all been lifted for me. So
Did it hurt?
it was not pleasant because what happened was they couldn't use full anesthesia on me because he needed me to be able to tell him or to respond to him, like raise your eyes up, put your eyes down, raise them up, down, up, down. So I was only partially sedated. So when he did like the injections of the dulling substance for my eyelids, I felt it.
Yeah.
It wasn't terribly painful, but I felt it. And then he said, okay, we're going to do your bottom lids now. He said, we can give you more anesthesia. And I didn't feel anything more,
Oh, okay.
Come on, I want to get high. Give me a break,
Right. Now, did they give you any medicine to go home with?
Oh, yeah. Well, they gave me stuff to put on my eyes to,
Right.
to some salve to kind of heal the scars and so on. So
Right.
And then he gave me, let me see here, what else? Oh, yeah, some antibiotic that I put in my eye. Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then, then I had to take Prednisone, which is a steroid, which I guess
Okay.
keeps inflammation from happening. I don't know what that was for. And then for pain, you say, okay, what did you give me for pain? And they used to give you a handful of Vicodin. Here, go home, have fun, stay high, don't hurt. All right?
Right.
Well, you can take Tylenol. What?
Right.
I can take
what? Right. Get out your script pad.
I can take fucking Tylenol? You out of your fucking goddamn mind? I want some. If I'm doing this, if we're spending thousands upon thousands of dollars for this, the one thing I want are decent drugs, for crying out loud.
I want opioids.
Oh yeah, I mean, just hit me up, doctor.
Did he give you any?
No.
Oh, the bastard.
No.
Oh,
No.
the
I went home
bastard.
with a handful of Tylenol.
Oh, the bastard.
They didn't even ask me if I had Tylenol at home.
Right.
Luckily, I do. I have it over here. But anyway, and then I'll tell you, this is the best part. Okay, here's the antibiotic I put in my eyes.
Right.
How much do you think that cost?
$60.
Try 80.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now I went on to Costco. I got this from my local pharmacy, right, where I have
Right.
where they have my, what do you call it, my insurance.
Right.
So part of this was paying off my yearly deductible.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if I hadn't gone there and I'd gone over to Costco to get it, told them to, call it into Costco, which I just could walk over to Costco, but it's a longer way than my pharmacy. Okay, and when you're sick, when you're ill, you just came back from surgery. The last thing you want,
It's to walk extra yards.
You have to walk all the way across town or take
Right.
a
You don't
cab.
want to go further.
Yeah, exactly.
You just want to go to bed.
Right. So if I had gone there, this would have been $13.99.
Well,
Without insurance.
really?
Yes. Go figure that one.
I'm not that smart.
You know, none of this makes any sense whatsoever to me.
Right. Nor me.
And
I'm
then,
surprised they didn't give you a handful of Percocets.
huh? Well, I mean,
A handful of Percocets.
yeah. I mean, give me something. Just to, hey, here's a little prize for you. You've been a good boy. Here's your candy.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But they didn't do that. So anyway,
Nah.
I have been off the air because this was really, really black and blue for a while.
Right.
And now it's easing up, and I'm getting my regular bags back. I was afraid that the bags were going to be lower than they were, but it'll be minus this here, so I'm back to my old bags. Okay. If I wanted to get the bags done, that's cosmetic surgery and not covered by Medicare.
Right.
So he could do it at the same time for $4,000 because he doesn't have to bring in a new anesthesiologist.
That's crazy.
And I told him no. You know, I can live
Right.
with the bags. I mean, they're not terrible. You
No.
know, they look more terrible to me when the eyes weren't open more. You know.
They accented it more.
Yeah. So you know, what the hell, you know? And I, at my age, you know, I'm 81. In case people didn't know, I'm 81.
Right.
I figured I'm going to get all this cosmetic procedures done, and then I'm only going to be alive for maybe a year, you know, 2 years, or maybe I'll be alive for 20 years. But by then, the whole rest of the face will have fallen. So you know,
it won't matter.
And I also figured if I'm going out for like I don't know, a movie role or something, I'm going out for a person my age.
Right.
And I don't want to look
out for a teen.
I don't want to look too good for my age.
You don't have to worry about that.
But let's talk about you.
What about me?
Let's talk, because I'm noticing the tooth is still missing.
Right.
Right.
I see the dentist on the 19th,
For what?
the oral surgeon.
And what is he going to do?
He's going to pull out the bottom teeth.
All the bottom teeth?
Yes.
And the reason is
They're gone. They're rotted away.
they don't want to be with you anymore.
No, they don't. They're abandoning ship.
Yeah.
They're leaving their country.
So they'll remove all of those.
Right.
And then what are they going to do in its place?
Dentures.
Dentures?
Right.
How about implants?
Medicare doesn't cover it.
Medicare does. Oh, Medicare. You're under Medicare for this.
Right.
Why? Because it's a yeah. And they consider that cosmetic.
Well, I got Medicare Advantage, so I now have dental and vision, as well as just regular Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish I could get implants, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, well, what happens is with a denture, they would take a denture, they make a denture, then they put two implants in, and then they screw that to the thing.
Right.
And I would just think that would be, well, I wish you could afford it. That would be the
Right,
way
me too.
It would be the way to go.
Absolutely.
And by the way, you can still go that way eventually. If suddenly you come into thousands and thousands of dollars,
right, knock on wood.
they can still do the implants and the dentures.
Oh, sure.
You know.
Sure.
But anyway.
So
you made it to denture land before me, huh?
yeah, I guess so.
What was
well,
it?
I beat myself up a little bit more than you.
But this was a drug caused by drugs?
Oh, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're doing drugs, you're not really taking care of yourself.
Well, that's first of all, but I think that also some of those drugs do something to the teeth or whatever.
Right.
know.
I think meth really rots out the teeth. It has something to do with softening the enamel.
Oh, really?
Right, methamphetamine.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
Yeah, like, you ever seen anybody with like teeth like chiclets, black chiclets?
Yeah.
That's a meth head.
Wow. Oh boy.
So I guess you didn't watch the Yankees Red Sox game, did you?
The Yankees, Red Sox.
That was last night.
A Yankee is a what? Is it a baseball player, right?
Yes, sir.
And a Red Sox is a football player.
No, it was a baseball player.
Okay.
It was a baseball game, Alex.
Wouldn't it be fun to see football players playing against baseball players? Each
whole different skill set.
Each playing their own game while they're out
there. Now that would be very.
No, I didn't watch the Yankees versus the Red Sox, but of course that would be an important game for you and I to watch because I'm in New York, Yankees.
Right.
You're in Boston, near Boston. Right. Red Sox. No, I didn't.
That's right.
Who won?
Red Sox.
Mm-hmm.
Eliminated the Yankees from the postseason.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
That was the end of this one-game playoff.
So, in other words, this was for what was this for? If the person who won gets to go to what?
Gets to go to the ALDS, the American League Divisional Series.
Okay, so then the winner of that goes to the World Series, right?
No, goes to the.
Oh God, it's not
goes to the pennant.
Hey, it's October already. It's not over yet.
No. October baseball.
Do you remember a time when baseball was over by now?
No, it never. It was always in October. The World Series.
The World Series, but is the World Series going to be this month?
I believe so.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I don't know. I just
you don't care. Let's be honest. You don't care. You don't give a shit.
I do give a shit.
Oh, do you?
Kinda.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm my own aunt.
And you're your own aunt. Oh, by the way,
Right.
for people who were tuning in when we play this, and I told him what happened with my face and the operation. If you've heard it before, because I probably have talked about it already.
Right.
I'm sorry, but I don't mind if I repeat myself. Okay, so anyway.
Well.
By the way, I got to tell you, I went to Mount Sinai's Eye and Ear Infirmary is where the operation was, right?
Okay.
So everybody in there was for something for eye or ears.
Right.
Okay. And I went there. They had me there at 6:30 in the morning.
Okay.
And they keep asking me the same questions they've asked me every time at Mount Sinai, because it's part of Mount Sinai.
Right.
The same questions they always ask me before an operation. Now wait a minute.
Of course.
They have all that information. It's been asked of me before. And I asked them, why don't you coordinate your stuff with the other Mount Sinai's? And they said, haven't done that yet. I'm going, what year is this?
Right, and they also want to make sure nothing has changed.
No.
You know they're gonna ask you those questions every time, Alex.
That was the health part of it. Okay? I'm talking about just the sign in.
Right.
You know. I mean, why don't they just say, your address is still such and such, you're so and such an age, good, thank you. But not have to refill everything out over again. You know, I should have a barcode on my ass. Are you one of those QR codes?
I can see you sliding it across the scanner.
Yeah, but a QR code on my ass that has all the information. And you do know that day's coming.
Well, I don't know about on your ass. It might be on your forearm.
Well, be like here. Yeah, right.
Right.
You know.
Like the Jews in Auschwitz.
And then I can protest against it because I say I'm a Jew and I want to be buried in a Jewish cemetery. You know, when I had my prostate.
Alex, you can be buried in a Jewish cemetery with tattoos.
You can?
Yes.
Where'd you find that at? What Jew did you talk to about that?
I spoke to a couple of rabbis.
Really?
Yep.
And why is that okay?
Because I guess the rabbis in Israel noticed that all the millenniums were all tattooed.
I see.
So they kind of said, we'll let it go.
Well, here's what happened. When I went to, when I was getting my radiation for my prostate,
right?
They have to put on your stomach 4 dots, tattoo 4 dots. It's some way they use it to target what they've got to target.
Right.
And so they put these. Anybody who's ever had radiation for their, especially for the prostate, I don't know if they do this for something else, have gotten those little tattoos. I still have them. They're very tiny. You can barely see them.
I bet, like needle mark.
Yeah, but it's their registration points or something like that. I don't know what the.
Have you ever gotten a pneumonia shot?
Yeah.
I got a pneumonia shot 2 days ago. And my arm is still killing me.
Oh, I remember it was a pretty heavy shot.
Right.
I went and got
right,
my flu.
right.
I went and got my flu shot for this year, and my arm is still kind of. I just touched it. It's still kind of hurting. Yeah.
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 My arm still hurts. I got the shot on Monday.
Now, for those people who are hesitant about the COVID vaccine, how much pain did you have from the COVID vaccine?
None.
None. Absolutely none. I mean, that needle goes in and it leaves, and they go.
It's over before you even realize it happened.
Right. Exactly. It
Right?
is. It is almost a non-shot. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a second out of your day.
Whatever happened? You ever remember? I don't know if you remember this. They had pneumatic injections.
Yes.
They would have this thing. They put up to your arm. They push it. And it was like poop. It was like air was pushed through your arm or something.
Right. Something like that.
What happened to that? You would have thought that would have been the fastest way to do COVID. Boom, 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 boom.
I don't know, Alex.
I know when
I'm
I was in the Navy, they had those, and one of the guys was getting a shot, and they did it with his arm, and he flinched, and his arm moved, and it wound up bleeding.
No.
Because the pneumatic thing. I don't know, but I just.
Well, the same thing would happen if you jerked your arm with a needle in it. It would
I
bleed.
guess. But listen, I'm talking to somebody. Are you afraid of needles?
No.
You, obviously not. You were an addict for a while.
For a while.
Yeah.
Well, I'll always be an addict, Alex.
Well,
I'm just not using.
I had a girlfriend years ago who'd been had been an addict. Okay.
Right.
And told me that she was absolutely afraid of needles.
Really?
And I asked her the question I just asked you about how could you be afraid of needles if you were injecting heroin into your arm. She says,
Because there's a payoff.
yes. She said there's a reward.
Right. There's a reward for that second of pain.
Yeah.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah. But I couldn't see how she was afraid of injections, and yet, she was a heroin addict. She was shooting up like crazy.
Well, I'm not a big fan of them running an IV because it's so hard to find a vein. The last time I was in the hospital, Alex, it took them 10 tries to put an IV in. I had cotton balls up both arms, from my shoulder down to my wrist.
Well, here's what I have them do. I have them go through my wrist.
Right.
Because I have a lot of veins in my wrist. They just go boom and they got it. All right.
Right.
But if they if they do my arm here, you can't.
I get nothing.
Nothing there. So if they do the wrist, I don't mind it. And then they put the thing in there and then they tape it down, and it's kind of like you have your own USB port.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and that's the way they put all the stuff to go in you and so on and so forth.
Right. That's where they can mainline some heavy opiates.
Something would be nice. It'd be good for a heroin addict. Really have fun with a drip.
Yeah.
Every time he wants to do it, all he has to do is just inject it into the tube.
Right. Put a stent in.
And by the way, once you got that thing in you, okay.
Right.
And people are going, ugh. Once you got that thing in you,
you don't feel it.
It could be there for the next month, and you wouldn't mind it.
Right. Depending on how well they found the vein. It could.
Well, I had one in here for 4.5 days when I had my kidney stone.
Really?
Yeah, and it was very convenient because anytime they wanted to give me my dose of high narcotics to put me, keep me happy because I was in great pain, because they always go. Here's what happens in the hospital. You got a kidney stone. They say, how painful is it? On a scale of 1 to 10.
Always 1 to 10.
Yeah, a scale of 1 to 10. Well, it's their scale, and it's a good one, Well, okay, so let's say I'm feeling good today and it's only a 5.
Right.
Don't tell them it's a 5.
Right.
Because
right.
they're only going to give you 5 worth of narcotics.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Tell them, hey, this is absolutely outlandish. I'm still horribly in pain. Oh, well, good. We'll juice you up. Boom.
Right. Oh, goody.
You know, so I mean, I was out on, I don't know what they were putting in me, but man, those days passed fast.
Right. I bet it was Demerol.
Who knows what it was? All I know is I want what he's having. You know.
Right.
It was wonderful. It was
Right.
just
After they give it to you, all of a sudden you like everybody.
Here I am talking to we'll say an addict, because
Right.
you're not, nobody's recovered. Well, you're recovered.
Right.
You can use the word recovered, right?
Recovering.
Okay. Addict. And me, and I'm talking to him about injecting drugs into your body.
Right.
And what, I mean, by waxing poetic about the drugs they were giving me in the hospital, does that make you want anything, or does that not?
No, because we're just talking. It's not like you're standing in front of me, shooting up.
Right.
That I don't think I could handle.
Right. Did you find, let me ask you this, we got a little bit of time left here. Did you find that when you quit, you had to avoid the people you used to hang out with?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And when you go to clubs, you just let everybody know that you're not doing anything anymore.
And to all the other comics and so on.
Right. You let people know.
Now, did it bother you that maybe they did drugs around you?
Well, I could always leave the room if they were doing drugs.
Because here's the thing. When I quit smoking, people said, do you mind if I smoke? And I said, no, go ahead.
Right.
It's not good for you, but go ahead. And they
Right.
go, yeah, but you're an ex-smoker. Why are you saying that? And I said, because I quit, you didn't.
Right. There you go.
And if I can't stay quit because you're smoking around me, then I haven't really emotionally quit cigarettes.
Right. That's right.
So I'm not bothered by that. But anyway, I guess this doesn't look bad. You know what this looks like? I look like Tom Brady after the game.
You think so, huh?
With those little black things here.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right, I get you.
Yeah. No, otherwise I bear no resemblance to Tom Brady.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
In fact, he's probably going to look better 10 days dead than I do right now.
Good night. We'll be here all week.
Yeah. As the old line goes. Man,
Right.
Oh man. So, I don't know, I haven't done a show for a couple of weeks. One week I was so sick, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I had, I don't know, a cold or something, and it was just unrelenting. And then I had this thing happen, and so I've been off for about, I was off for about a total of 2.5 weeks.
Well, didn't we do a show last week? No, we didn't do a show last week.
No. Last week, if I had done this, you would have seen a guy that looked like he'd been beaten up.
Right. I would imagine.
Yeah. All this was dark in here.
I bet.
Black and blue.
I bet.
Yeah. So, But, the great thing about never having a pretty face is that you don't miss it.
You can't wreck it.
You can't wreck it. Go ahead. Beat it up. Punch me.
Right. Just give me more character.
So I saw a thing about Muhammad Ali. They've been doing they did a documentary about Muhammad Ali. So
which was great. I don't know if you watched it, but it's great.
Did you ever see the movie he made called The Greatest?
No.
In which he's acting out his life.
Oh, really?
He's really good.
Oh, really?
He's really good in it. Yeah.
I had his headshot autographed I got it from Miriam Ali, his oldest daughter.
Oh, really?
She used to hang out at the Comedy Store.
Oh, wow.
Very, very sweet lady. Very nice lady. Very great lady.
Is that a daughter?
Yes.
Yeah, there are a lot of daughters. A lot of daughters and sons. I think he had like 8 or something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. He was he kept his women.
He was busy.
He was busy.
Right. Let's leave it at that.
Well, it's so good to talk to you again.
Always good to talk. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah,
you look great.
I wondered how I would be right now, and I'm feeling pretty good about this. You make me feel good.
All right. I'll take that.
I could talk to you for hours.
Right.
But
Right.
I won't give you that horrible problem.
That platform.
That platform. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's the lovely and attractive Stephen Pearl. Thank you,
No,
Stephen.
it's Kravitz. It's
Why
Kravitz.
do I say that? Jeez Almighty! Stephen Kravitz, Steve Pearl.
Right, and we're nothing alike.
That's the way I gotta do it. I know you're nothing alike, but I talk to you, both of you, occasionally
Right.
like this, and I just went, Stephen Pearl. But that's
Right.
me. I'm an old guy. Okay, so correct me.
I did correct you. That's not the first time you've said it either.
Oh, then I take everything back because it's Stephen Pearl I enjoy talking to.
Good night. We'll be here all week.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Kravitz. Ladies and gentlemen,
Thanks,
Steve
folks.
Kravitz. Thanks, Stephen. Bye.
Thank you, Alex. Bye.
This is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network, now in its 7th year. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Well, let's see how I look. Am I in sync? I'm a little out of sync. Well, who cares? Who cares? Do you care? Well, let me turn on the lights. That would help also if I turn on the lights a little bit. Well, now I'm more in sync, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea why this equipment makes me go out of sync. But it's part of it has to do with Zoom, I guess, eating up some of the juice here. But anyway, I got to try and figure this thing out soon. But I don't think anybody notices me being out of sync that much. Do I look that much out of sync there on that monitor there? Look, there we go. We're fine. Hello, everybody. How are you? As you know, last night I left here thoroughly depressed because I didn't have enough people calling the program. And see, I'm out of sync. This is ridiculous. Okay? I'm out of sync. That I have no idea why. I give up. Anyway, so I was really depressed because we didn't get a lot of callers. And I was back after a short amount of time. And then I come back and this equipment isn't working right. Look, I just froze again. What's that about? Amazing. Anyway, let me just go to the bring the people in here who are waiting out there. There are like 3 of them, and we'll see what they're. Oh, look, there's Kevin and there's Josh Wheeler and Trucker Steve. We need to see your face. Yeah, hello, Steve. How are you? How have you been doing, Trucker Steve?
Good.
Good.
Yep.
Why? How's your kidney situation?
Going good. I switched to going to a clinic instead of going to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So my appointments are now around 6 o'clock in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got home a couple hours ago from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to be, instead of going Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm switching next week to go Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Oh, okay.
And I'll be going 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow. Okay.
Which is better.
Yeah. Well, as everybody knows, Trucker Steve had a real problem where he got very sick, and they found out your kidneys were all screwed. Right? Did they remove the kidneys? No.
No. I still got them.
Yeah, but the you have to do the dialysis in order to make them function, or make your body function. Yeah. But how are you feeling? A little better?
Yeah. Been having trouble sleeping lately, but
yeah.
Other than that, I'm fine.
Yeah. Now you live where again?
London, Ontario.
London, Ontario. So you've got the Canadian health plan there, right?
Right. Hasn't cost me a dime.
Hasn't cost you a dime. How about that, folks? Don't you wish you had that happen to you?
Except for buying prescriptions or some medications that are not covered.
Yeah.
On prescriptions.
Yeah.
Off the shelf stuff.
Off the shelf stuff. Oh, you mean the stuff that isn't prescription? Or it isn't prescription. But yeah. That's what I hate is that some drugs a doctor will give you now, have gone into being generic and go over the counter, and now it costs more than if it wasn't over the counter and your insurance had to pay for it. So, but basically, it's nice you get out of there not paying a dime. You know, I mean, we got really good insurance this time to take care of our secondary, as they call it in the United States. And when I go to I got the eyes done, I walk out of there, I didn't pay a penny, not a cent, not a red cent. You know, of course they kept my eyeballs as insurance, but you know, yeah. Hello to the rest of you. See, you guys are calling, and this is nice. But where's everybody else is what I'm saying, you know.
Brian is at the bar watching the Giants and Dodgers.
Yeah, that I know.
He's a big Giants fan, so
yeah,
don't expect to see him tonight.
Yeah. And
especially if they go on a long run in the Major League Baseball playoffs this year.
Well, I haven't seen Jeff in a long time, you know, and I don't understand. I haven't seen, he hasn't called the show. And what's funny is that occasionally when somebody tries to call my Zoom number, I'll get a notification in the mail that says, so-and-so is trying to Zoom you, or is signed on to Zoom you. And I get a lot of them for Jeff. And then I go on last night and there's no Jeff. So now I'm worried when I don't hear from somebody, especially somebody Jeff's age and with Jeff's history, I begin to wonder, you know, about whether he's okay or not. So, you know. Anyway, how you doing, Josh?
Doing good. How you doing?
Fine. We have talked since my procedure, because we get together privately, you, Kevin, and I, and Patrick, and talk on the weekends. So I've seen you since I had the operation. You got to see me, though, before I let anybody else see me. Tell them how bad I looked.
I mean, you look like they just took you out of one of those pyramids in Egypt and unwrapped you, but it was all right. We made it through the night.
Oh, boy.
I was pretty drunk, so maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
You know, the worst part about it is, look, you know, when I was a kid, okay, when I was a kid, I used to love going to a doctor, because after he did something, but when he did something, he gave you really good drugs, he got you really high, you know.
Yeah.
That was very cool. All right. Not anymore. Not anymore.
I don't think you even get lollipops now. If you do, they probably bill your insurance company.
I went home and we used to go home. The doctor would give you a handful of Vicodin and say, "Have fun," right? You know,
Yeah,
this will take care of you. This will take care of the pain. Now, you know what he says to me? I said, "What do I do for the pain?" He says, "Take 3 Tylenol." What?
Yeah.
Not even Tylenol with codeine? Not Tylenol and something else? How about some Vicodin, you know? No. So that's the problem. Yeah.
Got to see a drug dealer if you want some of that.
Yep. So anyway, it's ridiculous. You can't get high anymore. They don't do it. And they send you home. They can send me home with a cream, an antibiotic for my eyes, and prednisone, which is an anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, it's a steroid, right?
A steroid, and that's it. Forget it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. I mean, that's not. It's not really all that great. I mean, anything that involves anesthesia and all that is usually at least fairly serious and should involve some sort of pain medication. I mean,
well, you would think.
It's like I said, when my father had that back surgery and neck surgery, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, almost 3 months ago now. I mean, they sent him home with 10 days worth of Percocet. I mean, and he laid him on a table for 6.5, 7 hours.
Yeah, where
and
is that?
Got a 12-inch slit in his back. I mean,
my old producer Albert is sitting over here. Whatever happened to the days of all those drugs we used to get?
Maybe we ran out.
Maybe we ran out. Yeah.
Maybe I took them all.
Yeah. But I mean, they're afraid to give them to you now. because they're afraid of getting in trouble with the government, you know?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, they're just, I mean,
Am
look,
I-
a lot of people became highly dependent, and then just like with tobacco, there were a lot of lawsuits, and they shelled out a lot of money, and that's, you know, how it went. But hey, look, in my mind, I mean, just sell them at fucking Walmart if you want to get high and get fucked
Well,
up. So what?
yeah.
I can drink 14 beers and be just as fucking bad. That would cost me less money, and I'm less able to function than I am on opium-based shit. So I mean,
Yeah.
but they're not doing anybody any favors. I mean,
Well, you know, if you give me a small prescription for Vicodin, as an example, so at least I get high and I'm forgetting, you know, I'm not forgetting the pain, okay?
right.
And I have to admit, this wasn't all that painful. I'll tell you what was painful. During the operation, right, they said, we're gonna sedate you, give you some sedation. And I said, fine, that's good. Because I'd had sedation when I had the prostate seed thing done, and they sedated me so much that I didn't know what was going on, right? I was in La La Land, and then they did a spinal on me, so the bottom half of my body wasn't working, you know, and I did my impression of Patrick, you know, so, in fact, I told Patrick, I know what you're going through, because for at least 3 hours, the bottom part of my body wouldn't work, you know. So anyway, so I remember that sedation. He said, we're going to do light sedation on you because I need to be able to have you open your eyelids and close your eyelids for me so I know what I'm doing, you know, that I'm doing right. And so I go, okay, fine. Light sedation means that when he was sticking deadening stuff in my eyelids, I felt it. You know, it wasn't pleasant. And the whole experience wasn't particularly pleasant. And then when we got to the bottom lids, he said, well, we can more heavily sedate you now. I wouldn't have known it, you know. I mean, I didn't feel any real sedation going on. And then he says to me, I go to him the other day, and he looks at it, and he says, well, one eye I didn't get up just right because you were a very difficult patient. I said, what do you mean? He says, you were squirming a lot, moving a lot. And I'm going, you're sticking fucking needles in my eyelids. What am I supposed to do?
Natural guy.
Oh, well, don't be a pussy. You know? Come on.
Say that third places.
You didn't give me enough drugs. Fuck you.
Yeah, you want a very pliant patient? Then give me some drug that makes me pliant. Okay? One that will still make me open my eyes, but at the same time keep me in La La Land, you know? So
I mean, they can't put people under, you know, anesthesia and like pay someone to hold your eyes open for the guy or whatever.
I don't know.
Someone who could charge your insurance company like $38,000 for 3 hours.
He was also saying that he had to, maybe we might have to go back in and do this eye a little more, bring it up just a little bit more because he didn't get it just right. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you know, the last time he told me that if I wanted to do away with the bags, for $4,000 he could do away with the bags. It'd be more expensive if I only wanted the bags done. But because I'm going in and Medicare is taking care of this, okay, and then taking care of the anesthesiologist, he'll only charge me $4,000 for the bags. By the way, that's $2,000 a bag, okay?
That's a lot. You get a group rate.
And so I'm thinking if I have to go back in and do it, I might rethink whether I should do the bags or not. What do you guys think? Well, you can't tell now because I'm still swollen down here.
But would Medicare pick up the bags, or you have to pay out of pocket?
Huh? But
Would you have to
now
pay
my
out of
eyes are wide open. See that? You never saw me do that before.
It's like you're wide up like we're drinking coffee. Yeah.
You see?
Alex, would Medicare pick up the bag? Would they pick up that?
No. See, that's cosmetic.
Oh, you see? Cosmetic. Yeah. But say it's bothering your vision. Can you say, hey, listen, it's bothering my vision?
No, the bags can't possibly bother your vision. They don't. No, that once you go below the lids, You're now in cosmetic surgery territory.
You're in Joan Rivers territory when you're below the lid.
Exactly. Exactly. Can you hear it okay, by the way? Yeah. Okay.
I heard you say, I was listening to the replay, when you said last night $4,000, I almost fell off the chair. I was listening in the afternoon. You told Phil.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's 4 iPhones.
I was like, holy moly, that's a lot.
It's 4 iPhones. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I just, and then I went through the whole process of healing. And one of the reasons, I probably could have gone on the air, that Thursday or so on, but I didn't because I looked like I had been in a bad fight, and I needed to, and then I come back last night and nobody's calling, and I go, they really forgot, didn't they? They really forgot.
I didn't think you were going to be on. I didn't realize it until this morning when I saw the show up. I was, oh shit, he went on. I called Chucky. I said, Alex went on. Then I saw your eyes. I said, oh my God. You were right. It looked like you went around with Mike Tyson for a brief moment.
And I'm at this point in my life where doctors really want to do a lot of stuff to me because I'm an opportunity.
They see they can make money.
Yeah. No, with the eye thing, I probably could have lived without it, but I would have been like half blind kind of when I was walking around.
But it's good that you got it because it was your vision too. Like you were saying, you couldn't really watch TV, or you could, but you weren't getting.
But here's the fear that I have: I get the bags done, and then 2 weeks later, I die. In
the casket, you do keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
My mother would. She used to always say, but my mother had that eye problem where she couldn't see one of her eyes. I forget what they called it. The macular degeneration.
Oh, degeneration. Yeah. Well, this thing is called ptosis. Which
I used to go to the eye doctor with. I used to always ask him questions.
That's a word you don't want to say to people when you've got COVID. Ptosis.
Ptosis.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, so how you doing, Kevin?
Okay.
Yeah.
Been busy.
What have you been doing?
Oh, high school stuff.
Yeah, you're going back. You went back to high. He went back to high school, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
He's moving a diploma. Really?
Building band props.
Huh?
Building band props for the marching band for my daughter's marching band.
Oh,
and stuff. So
okay.
They're going on tour, so. Yeah, it's been brutal.
Yeah. Well, that's so. And your daughter, you say, is quite a musician, actually.
Yeah.
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 That's terrific.
Yeah, she leads the saxophone section.
She's the Lisa Simpson of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what, Josh? I have not been watching the news. I'm just finding it very hard to watch because, quite frankly, it's very boring lately. It's the same stories over and over again. Every time, Marjorie loves watching MSNBC, and I assail her for it. Okay, I can't watch it. I just find that every hour it's the same goddamn stories every day. When we don't have enough stories about what Trump did wrong, we'll go to our fallback position of talking about COVID.
Yeah.
Or what Schumer made an ass out of himself because he got his way.
What's this? Who?
And the infrastructure bill. That's been a hot little potato they tossed around a little bit the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, you ever watch a movie and you know that the hero of the movie isn't going to get killed because he's the star. Okay? So really what you're waiting to see is how the star gets out of getting killed. All right. So the ending is always going to not include him as part of the dead people. The same is true of this bill. At the last minute, we've got to have enough money to pay our bills. Will we be able to do it? Of course we'll be able to do it. They will always wait till the last minute to do it. So why play games with them? Just say, call us up when it's the last minute and we'll get together and do this thing.
Pretty much.
Am I right, Josh?
Yeah. And the other thing is, for all the talk that we get at times about, our national, our deficit, our debt, our budget, and politicians really of both sides, but specifically on the right, will get on television or during their campaigns and they'll say, our government should run, just like your family, where you sit around that dining room table and you talk about what you can pay and what you can't and how you should pay it and all that. And I mean, so, okay, do average Americans, when the date for their mortgage payment is due on the 15th, do they wait until 11:59 and 59 seconds the night before to call the fucking mortgage company up and try to pay it and haggle with them about it, for the few seconds that they have before it's due? No, I don't think they do. I mean, if you don't have the money, maybe you do, but no, that's not what people do, right?
I mean,
that's not responsible behavior.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I don't do that.
But why do they always wait till the last minute? You know that we're never going to default. We never will.
But they do it. They do it so that they can drag in completely unrelated policy once, and they can basically blackmail people again for all their talk about how it should be run like an American family or an American business. I don't basically, like I said, I don't call my mortgage company up and say, I tell you what, if you do something for me, and you've got about 10 seconds with a gun to your head to make a decision, I'll pay you my monthly mortgage payment that I signed a contract and agreed that I would pay you some time ago. But if you don't do it, well, then, I just won't pay. I mean, that's lose-lose all the way around, and it's plain stupid. So why do people listen to that type of rhetoric and shake their head up and down and agree with, again, like I said, both sides, but specifically I think the people on the right, and then let them do those types of things and not say, well, that's utterly ridiculous and it's irresponsible. That should not be tied to anything. That should be tied to nothing. It should just be done. It should just be something that we have to do because the money's already been spent and now we have to pay for it. But they don't do it.
Right.
And again, I see the same stupid behavior on the other side sometimes. I don't agree with the fact that we basically have an agreement to spend $1.5 trillion on American infrastructure, something the last 4 or 5 presidents tried to do and couldn't, and we finally have it. Mm-hmm. It's finally done. And it's our own people holding it up because, if we're going to do that, we got to get another $5 trillion for social justice and all this, so on and so forth. Again, all stuff I can probably get on board with, but you're going to hold it all up because you can't do something that you've already agreed to do unless you do it all. I mean, it's this is why people fucking hate them. Okay, it's right. It's why.
By the way, we've been joined by Patrick. Hello, Patrick. How are you? Good to see you.
Super wonderful.
You're super wonderful. You're always super wonderful. I've never asked you that question. You said, I feel like crap.
No.
Hey, listen, guy, you're in a goddamn wheelchair. You've got to pee through a tube, and everything's great?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll buy that. See, that's the attitude I want to have. But it's always evaded me. I've never been able to have that attitude. And I have nothing to complain about, right? Got a little arthritis here, right? Got a little neuropathy in my feet. Big fucking deal. Meanwhile, you're in a wheelchair, got to pee through a tube. What else is, you got hearing aids?
Yeah, hearing aid.
Hearing aids. I mean, this is a person with some problems there. And he goes through life just going, how you doing, Patrick? Peachy.
Well, and the other thing that makes my life good is I don't watch MSNBC. So.
Well, neither do I. We have that in common now. You know what?
Oh, go ahead.
But I was going to say, you mentioned something when we were talking on the weekends, because we get together and have this little private soiree, okay? You were saying, I think one of us was saying how sick we were of seeing Fauci on everything.
Yeah, I think we were pretty much all were.
How many here are sick and tired of Dr. Fauci?
Yeah,
I mean,
look,
he's
right. And we all, I think we all agreed that it was not a personal, thing. And I certainly don't agree with all this, garbage coming from the right about, how he's some kind of evil,
Oh,
Dr.
right. I'm not saying
Strangelove
that
or
he's
whatever.
evil or
I mean,
anything.
come on, we don't need to put a snake in the guy's fucking mailbox.
Yeah, but I'm sick and tired of seeing him every time I turn on the TV set.
Yes, I mean, we could maybe send him on a fucking cruise to the Caribbean.
Also, you know who else I think should shut up
No?
a little more, kind of tone it down? Biden, because he's on about as much as Trump was.
It's always about the
Okay,
vaccine
but
and
the difference
vaccine.
is, in the case of Trump, we got a few laughs.
Yeah.
You know,
He's always-
in
he's always
Biden's
like
case,
wisdom to us.
I'm having to pinch myself to keep myself awake.
He's not a good speaker. Yeah, it's almost like you hear him speak.
I mean,
it's almost
there are
like
very
you don't-
little things I agreed with Donald Trump on, but calling him Sleepy Joe was not bad.
No, he kind of, yeah, he does, because he's so like, it's always like the end of the world is coming with him. Like, it's never like a sunny day. It's always like, don't leave the house. He's just too down.
Well, I don't know that he's down. I don't think he has those kind of he doesn't have the leadership abilities, say, of an Obama, who could get up, give a speech, and rally the
He
country
don't make
together.
you feel good about yourself. Yeah,
Huh?
it's like he don't make you feel good about yourself. Really, it's like
It doesn't.
700,000 dead, but don't worry about it. We're gonna have subways. There's nothing coming. I mean, give me something.
Yeah,
It's
700.
almost like you
Can you
want to
imagine?
barricade yourself in the house.
700,000 people dead.
Yeah, dead.
Yeah.
I couldn't look at that number.
And here's my question: with 700,000 people dead, why is it traffic comes to a standstill in New York City?
Oh, God.
I mean,
Queens,
shouldn't
it's
it
like
be
you
a
go to
little
the-
lighter because some of them are dead?
You're gonna see the expressway, Alex, going to Long Island. Me and my brother were
It's
going to seafood.
gotten.
It's got a lot.
I'll tell you the thing I loved about COVID: the traffic. You could get in a car and just zoom down Fifth Avenue, and
Those were the days.
barring the lights, you could there wouldn't be anything around. Now it's like pain in the ass. So
I mean, the Fauci thing, though, I mean, again, he's not, a bad guy or anything. And I
no,
don't
he's
think
not a
that
bad. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
I'm just sick and tired
Right.
of every
Oh,
time
right.
I turn on my TV set. There he is.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I could just, he could use a vacation. I mean, COVID still be here when you get back. That's what we say at, like where I work or whatever, and big business is, when you've already worked like 12 hours and it's time to go home, and it's like that shit'll still be fucked up on Monday, man.
Well, I just
we'll be back.
I just wish they would. The trouble is with all these news networks, they have to gin up the news.
Yeah.
So if there was nothing happening, let's just say one day life was so good, there was the COVID thing was solved, and there was no infrastructure problem, and there was no this and no that, they would find something to gin up.
Yeah, there's a tropical wave off of Africa, and this could possibly turn into the biggest fucking hurricane in 300 years.
Yeah, which
We're gonna
means
watch it
yeah,
all the way home.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. They would find something. I mean, I just, Fauci, it's like the same, turn the TV on Sunday and it's, he's on Meet the Press, and he's on Stephanopoulos, and he's on Face the Nation. Fuck. I mean, can one of those goddamn shows not have him on?
Well,
I mean,
if he had something, if he had something new to tell us, okay,
Yeah, right.
but he really doesn't. I mean, I'll tell you what who I did like, Andrew Cuomo. I really liked, and I really liked him because he was kind of like a cheerleader. Come on, we can get this thing. We can bend the curve. Come on, wear your masks. Get your inoculations. Your vaccines. I mean, he was a cheerleader, and he was a damn good one. He took a very bad situation here in New York. 900 people dying every day. Okay, I mean, under his watch, something like 15,000 people died, something like that, a little more than that, maybe more. until we were able to get the thing under control because it hit us first. And he went on television every day and told people, wear the mask. Come on, we can do it, people. And simply by being a cheerleader, took the curve and bent it and made it go the other direction. Well, you know, Fauci's not that way. Fauci's just simply like, I don't know, your family doctor giving you some advice about your health. All right? And Biden is kind of like your grandfather saying, don't pick your nose. You know, I mean, we don't have people out there right now who are great cheerleaders. I think Obama was a pretty good cheerleader, don't you?
He was a good speaker. He really was a good speaker.
Yeah.
Like he can hit. You know, this Biden just has no charisma. Like it's just like Trump. We went from stupid in Trump, who couldn't put sentences together, to this guy who just, like you say,
okay.
Maybe it's his. I don't want to say. Maybe it's his age. I don't know. Maybe he's just tired.
Let me say, I think he is tired. But I will say that as opposed to Trump, he is a person who has a great deal of history and learning and ability and is ready for the job. Okay? Trump wasn't ready for anything. He wasn't ready for lunchtime, you know? I mean, he was terrible. He was just disgusting.
And the pants used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly wish that we could focus on something else, or at least take a break from some of it.
Well, maybe
at least a little bit.
Maybe the news people should say, you know, there's no news today, so we're going to run cartoons.
I'd be fine with that.
You know, I mean, they could do that over at CNN because they own the Cartoon Network.
Mm.
You know, and by the way, the Cartoon Network probably gets better ratings than they do. So why not run cartoons when there's no news? Hey, there's nothing much happening today. You know.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Congress is basically a cartoon anymore, so you know, what's the difference?
Major.
I mean, again, they can't. I mean, that shit's getting out of hand. I mean, look, it's no wonder when they take polls that Congress polls an approval in like what, the single digits or like the low 10, 11, 12% or whatever. I mean, that's the kind of thing that contributes a lot to having someone like Trump come to power, is because when you get someone who comes along and talks tons of shit about those people, it's not hard to get people to agree with you that Congress is worthless and I'll make it better.
I am getting a little mad at people who are constantly going after OAC. To begin with, I like OAC because I think she's a shit disturber, and I think that's good to have around. Okay, and it always makes people question their own stances on things when there's something like that. Plus, finally, there's a woman in Congress who I can fantasize about. Right, Patrick? Come on, tell me OAC hasn't given you a slight Woody. Come on.
I mean, she could give me head, and that's. But, I mean, I don't want to really spend any time with her if I don't, beyond that.
Yeah, but I think I'd enjoy talking to her. Chatting her up, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, every time she opens her mouth, I think of how to not have her open her mouth.
Well, no, you want her to open her mouth, I think.
Right, yeah. But when words come out...
Oh, you don't want the words. You don't want the words is what...
No.
Yeah. I think she's... I like her. I like her because she's ballsy. I mean, you may not like her because she spouts off her mouth a lot, but she keeps everybody else honest. She makes everybody else come to the table and talk about stuff. And maybe you don't have to agree with what she believes in, but it's here comes Jack Bishop. But I was going to say a few things about her, but then again, I was thinking, I'm at this point in my life and my career where it doesn't matter what I say. Nobody's going to be able to Me Too me or to run me out of town because of something I say, because I'm run out of town already. So if I said that I considered her a great piece of ass, would that be all right? Would that be considered a compliment, or am I now going to have people complain?
Well,
My sponsors are going to cancel.
She keeps reminding everybody she's from the Bronx, so she should be able to handle something like that if you said it.
Yeah. Oh, she's tough. She's tough. But I mean, I happen to think she's very attractive. Let me put it that way. She's very attractive. Okay. I rescind piece of ass. Okay. But she is good. Anyway, hello,
yeah, that guy.
Jack Bishop. How are you?
Surprisingly good. You know, I've really enjoyed the last 10 minutes of this conversation as I was getting ready for the intersection, which comes along at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
That's a plug.
That's what we call cross promotion in the business.
Yes, but, you know, don't you think really that we don't get it? You know, we want a leader that's entertaining. Now, I have read somewhere that in today's media-driven politics, Abe Lincoln wouldn't have stood a chance.
Here's the point I always used to make, that all of the successful politicians of various times were successful based upon the technology available to them. And in the case of Abe Lincoln, he looked big. He looked big in the back of a train.
Mm-hmm.
He was imposing in the back of a train. When you got to radio, our first radio president was FDR.
Yeah.
He did the fireside chats. All you had to hear was his voice. You didn't want to really see him. You know, here's this guy who had no ability to walk and whatever, and he could just sit in a chair and in front of a microphone, and with that very commanding voice, inspire a nation. All right.
And our first TV president
was Kennedy.
Kennedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm thinking that what we really need is maybe we need a president and a prime minister.
Well, could you say that Trump was maybe the first internet president?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But maybe we need a president who does the nuts and bolts, grind it out kind of stuff, and a prime minister who stands up in front of the cameras and in front of the microphones and makes us feel good. There are some countries that do that.
Yeah.
Can't that be the vice president that we haven't heard shit from in weeks?
Well, the thing is, we're not supposed to hear shit from the vice president.
The vice president is usually...
Couldn't that be her job?
No. Why?
Well, instead of another person in government, i.e. a prime minister, couldn't the office of the vice president do what you're describing, which is go out and make the people feel good while the president doesn't involve?
You know what it is? The vice presidency in America is like Miss Congeniality. You know? All she's supposed to do is just serve and wait in case maybe somebody outs Miss America and then she gets into that position. Right? But otherwise, she's just sitting in the sidelines.
One of the few Texans out of history that I believe said the right thing at the right time was a guy named John Nance Garner, who was FDR's, was he the second vice president?
I think he was the second vice president, yeah.
Oddly enough, I had a picture of my grandfather with John Nance Garner that I've been looking for years and I've lost. But anyway, John Nance Garner said, being the president of the United States is worth about a bucket of spit. Now, he didn't say spit, but the press said he said spit.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And, you know, what he does is what Alex said. He sits and waits for something to happen. And by and large, our vice presidents historically have not said anything. So it ain't going to work the way we do it.
Right. So, I don't know. I haven't been paying much attention to the news. You know.
Well, there's really not a lot of news right now that deserves a lot of attention.
What I love is a story about, I can't remember the couple, and they were one of the first people that were charged with criminal action based upon the fact that they were using rather illegal ways of getting their kids into colleges.
Mm-hmm.
And they just found them. They found them guilty, and today they're going to sentence them. I don't know if they've sentenced them yet.
I don't think they sentenced them
yet. But they refused to cop a plea. They refused to do what the government wanted them to do, what the government always wants you to do, which is to kind of admit your guilt, and then they save a lot of money, and then they give you a minimum sentence. In this case, they said, we're standing by our guns. So it looks like they're going to get like 20 years. I mean,
that's the kind of news we're getting. It's like I am so tired of talking to people both on the intersection, which comes along, and
I know you already plugged it once.
I'm greedy. Anyway, I'm tired of talking about this Texas abortion bill that got passed 3 weeks ago.
Well, yes and no. I mean, people have been talking about it enough that finally, at last, you had what is it, federal judge, was it?
Federal judge issued a stay order on it, which got reversed yesterday. The stay order was issued on Wednesday. A higher federal judge said, nope, sorry, I'm reversing it.
You're reversing what the governor did? Reversing what the governor did?
No, reversing what the first judge did.
In other words, he stayed it, saying the governor couldn't do this, and now they turned around and said, yes, he can.
Yes.
Oh,
and it's going to fight its way through the courts like it's supposed to do. But the reality of the thing is this. If anybody on either side thinks it's going to stop abortions, I got another thing coming.
Well, to begin with, look, let's be very honest about it. It's not like Texas is the only state in the union. You can get in a car and probably within 3 or 4 hours be to an abortion clinic in another state.
Well, not in Louisiana, maybe in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
But it takes, if you're in the valley, southern valley of Texas, it takes just about a day to get to Oklahoma.
Okay.
Because it's huge, doing this, and the fact of the matter is our right-wing brothers and sisters, they don't really give a damn about kids. Because
my question is, in your
they don't want to spend any money on them.
My question is, in your state, are there doctors who are saying, fuck it, I'm going to do them anyway?
Yeah. Because in our state, going after the doctors is not done by the state of Texas. It's done by individuals who file suits.
Let me ask Trucker Steve something. Steve, up in Canada, abortion is legal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And do they ever question it?
We have those pro-lifers here too, and they do try and get it switched, but no. No, I think it's good all across Canada.
Yeah.
It's been like that for years.
You see, I mean, here we have we're gonna have kind of a spotted physical map in which this state has it, but this state doesn't have it, but this state has it, but this state doesn't have it. And that can't be. All states should have to abide by the same.
Well, they did. They did until this Texas law came along, and a couple of other states.
What is wrong with your governor?
He's a doofus.
I mean, what's wrong with him? Does he wake up in the morning and say, "What can I do to be an absolute prick"?
Well, the thing is, look. Right now, in the state of Texas, there is not one Democrat holding a statewide office.
Somebody's got a radio on in the background. Do I hear it?
I can hear it, yeah, but I don't know where it's at.
I don't know. Hold on a second. Let me do something here.
Got the ball game on.
Oh, you have the ball game on?
Well, you watch it, Trucker.
It's San Francisco, LA, 3-0 San Fran.
Oh man,
So Brian's happy.
Yeah, but that's got to be, this freeway battle they're having in my home state. If my old man was alive, he'd say, "Turn off that goddamn political shit and let's get to something important like the ball game."
Yeah. Let me ask you something, Josh, because you know the Supreme Court. At least you're a Supreme Court watcher. Roe versus Wade. Do you think they're really going to ever say, "Hey, no" on that, or are they going to go with what so many other jurists on that august panel have said in the past, that it's case law? You know, you got to turn down the TV set.
You know,
Trucker Steve.
I mean, you certainly can't predict something like that. I mean, it's, but I don't think that I don't think it's as given that it's as good as gone that a lot of people think that it is, because some of these hard issues, you just don't have a read on the way some people will think. And I don't know how many times we would have to be surprised by a certain justice leaning a way that we didn't think that he or she would, before we realize that that's just kind of how it is, that we can't predict these things. I think people in the know look at it that way, but average citizens have been trained by the media and others to just assume that they will lean a certain way based on who they were appointed by or what the media told them they would do, and it doesn't turn out that way very, very often.
By the way,
in my
speaking,
we don't know.
Speaking of the Supreme Court, they have a show on, I don't know if anybody's seen it, called American Crime Story, Impeachment. And it's produced, oddly enough, among the producers is Monica Lewinsky. And it is a Monica Lewinsky tale, and so on and so forth. And they show who was the who ran the committee who was in charge of going after Bill Clinton. What was his name? Ken Starr. Ken Starr's, it's a dramatic thing, and Ken Starr's got all these guys sitting around a table, and it's like, what do you think, Brett? Somebody's playing Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh was on the Kevin Starr committee. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. On the team.
Yeah.
As it were.
I mean, the court's not really all that predictable a lot of times. I mean, I think that in general, historically, they are fairly reluctant to overturn,
case
legal
law
precedent that has been in place for long periods of time.
Yeah, but now
However,
again,
it does happen.
And
there are isolated cases.
However, you also have a bunch of people on that court now, the ones appointed by Trump, who don't have that same sense of history.
Maybe
that a
maybe
lot of
not.
the others do.
I mean, I don't know that we know, because they don't have a lot of, they haven't played that many games. Okay, we don't have that much film on them. I mean,
yeah.
So I don't know that we really know. I think that we have a somewhat of a sense of maybe their personal belief in some cases, based on some things that they may have said, or some things that people reported that they said, or a club they belong to or something. But, I mean, I can point you in the direction of, interviews and book talks and one-on-one panel discussions or whatever of several justices, including Justice Scalia, who, personally had real reservations about a certain policy or law, but yet decided legally the opposite of his own personal conscience, because he felt that's what the law required him to do.
They haven't been challenged in the seat yet.
Right.
So I mean, they're about to be challenged in the seat, and we'll see what happens.
What do you mean challenged in the? What do you mean be challenged in the seat exactly?
Well, they haven't been on the Supreme Court. Now they are, and they're about ready to be, challenged with these cases coming up. and we'll actually see what they're going to do.
Yeah, and there hasn't
everybody
really
has their
been
opinions, and everybody's got an asshole. Everybody's got an opinion, but once they're in that seat, they're going to actually have to put the law to test and see what they actually will do.
I'm trying to remember.
And there hasn't really been a serious challenge to abortion law in quite some time, maybe 35, 30 to 40, somewhere in that range, 30, 40 years. I mean, there have been some looks at it, but I mean a serious one where, in black and white letters, someone on the challenging side has asked to basically overturn what we've had as law for, half a century now. I mean, that's a serious, question, and we haven't had anything really approaching that level. And I would not discount the fact that there are several other cases pending of sort of equal importance, such as gun rights and stuff like that. And I just don't know legally how much the justices that are on the court now want to upend, decades long of what has basically been considered, mostly settled law.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to allow that to affect what they may think legally. I'm just saying,
but again,
much there,
I'm asking you this: is
that it's going to be tough.
I'm asking you this though: the Trump appointees to that august panel, I don't think have the same sense of history that way. That's what I'm worried about. Maybe if they're there for the next 20 years after it's over, some of the ones who are all the way to the right might go all the way to the left. I mean, we've had that happen on any number of occasions. I mean, you remember when years ago they appointed Earl Warren to be the Chief Justice, thinking that he'd be a shoo-in for right-wing politics, right? Where did he came? They hated him so much the John Birch Society wanted to lynch him.
Right. I mean, but all I'm saying is that in some ways, though, that sort of example and those examples as a whole should help people better understand, or helps me prove my belief or my theory that people need to understand that in the federal courts, specifically in the highest court, there is a difference in judicial philosophy and personal politics.
Right.
If there wasn't, how else would we have things like that develop on a decently, regular basis? I mean, that's just what I'm saying.
Jack has something to say. I know he has to get going.
Yeah, I got to go here, but we have seen something happen already, though, in the opening days of this new session that has surprised some of us. Clarence Thomas is asking questions. That's new.
Like, where's the bathroom?
No, he's actually asking lawyers coming before the Supreme Court real questions. And, when I saw that, watching some film on that, or some video on that, I said, God damn, he woke up. Now, whether he stays awake, we will see.
Yeah.
We'll see here in a minute. We'll see the intersection. Let me go get ready for that. Join us if you would.
Okay. See you later.
See you. Oh, by the way, your eyes look fabulous, darling. Fabulous.
Yeah, right.
I'm serious.
No,
I
gotta get rid of this part of it here.
Don't worry. That, as my mother said about my bad leg, that'll go away in time.
Okay, we'll see you later. Anything to say, Patrick? I mean, are you sick and tired of what you see going on in Congress where nothing's going on?
I think there was some movement this week that Mitch McConnell agreed to allow the debt ceiling to be raised till December and allow the Democrats to figure out a strategy that they want to do for the rest of the stuff. I mean, that would done, or am I out of my mind? But I thought that I
but he always comes out. But he could have said this 5 weeks ago, But he waited till the last minute to say it. That's the problem.
Well, that's politics, Alex. I mean,
But I don't buy that. You see, I don't buy that's politics. I mean, if I say that about politics, I might as well say, well, Harvey Weinstein, that's what he was all about.
But that is what he was all about.
So you have to excuse what he did because that's what Harvey Weinstein does. Well, I don't have to excuse Congress for being that way, do I?
But that's accurate about Harvey Weinstein. It's 100% accurate.
Well,
what he did is exactly what he was. I mean, where's the dispute?
Yeah.
That's the point we were making earlier, though, is that those things that is politics, but it doesn't have to be, and it shouldn't be. And it is, to me, it is just as much of a, it is a clown move on his part, just as much as it is, in my opinion, on the Democratic part to say, we're going to hold up something we've wanted for 25 years. Because we can't get all five.
But I'm sick of people going,
it's just as stupid.
Yeah, but I'm sick of people
MSNBC
saying,
watching liberals will call up here and argue with me about that. I don't fucking care because I'm not changing my mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that I just think that when we sit around and go, well, that's what do we expect? That's what politicians are. No, that's not. They may be what they are, but it's not what they're supposed to be. And what are we doing to stop them from being that way?
Yeah, and if maybe we should demand a little bit different, but we don't.
Yeah.
And that goes for everybody.
Yep.
And that's because, every year, every few years, we elect hundreds of these people. And out of the hundreds that we elect, we tend to only change out, 3 to 5, something along those lines.
Yeah.
If you don't count the ones who are retired, it might be less than that. I mean,
maybe the problem
less than 10.
Maybe the problem is that politics doesn't attract the highest form of human being.
Well, it's true.
I mean that people are attracted to various professions based on certain criteria, and I think in the case of politicians, what we're offering them, we don't get the best. All right, we don't get people that are there for public service, and that's it. Really want to help people. They're there because they want power.
I'm just and I'm just saying that small bridge over the creek that you've been driving over next to your house for the last 10 years, that's all fucked up and potholes everywhere and all that. I mean, are you really willing to say, okay, I'm fine with it, let's not fix it? I don't want to fix it because I can't get national child care passed.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Okay. If I can't have the bridge and national child care, then I don't want the bridge.
Well
then keep fucking driving over it, but shut the fuck up about it.
I don't know who said it. Some comedian said it recently that, it was Saturday Night Live. They said, the problem with the infrastructure bill is they keep saying we'll get to that bridge when we come to it, if it's still there.
Right.
So anyway, hey, listen, there's the theme song. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I know that we have a bunch of people watching baseball out there, but at least Trucker Steve is watching it while we're doing the show, okay? I don't know where Jeff was, where he's been the last couple of nights, but I'm worried about him. But anyway, thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate it. You guys kind of come in here and you come to my rescue. Trucker Steve, thank you for being here as well. Of course, the ever popular Josh, thank you for being with us. Tony, yeah, right. And of course, the lovely and attractive Patrick. Patrick, thank you for being with us. Everybody wave goodbye, and I'll wave goodbye back at you, and I'll probably be totally out of sync. Well, no, I'm not really out of sync. Oh, that's unusual. Okay, well, let me see here. Let me say goodbye to them, because once I get rid of them, then I go completely into sync, and I'm just fine. Anyway, that's it for tonight. We'll be here. I don't know what I'm going to do about next week. I might come on and just do 2 days next week, or I might come on Tuesday and try and do a show and see how it goes. And if I don't get too many people, then I won't do one Wednesday, and then I'll do one Thursday and Friday. But anyway, I'll probably see you on Tuesday. Meanwhile, we'll see you on Monday for the pop-up show that we do at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is always a lot of fun. In the meantime, if you're out there, if you see her, tell her I love her, And by the way, make sure you wear a mask, okay? And if you don't, please get vaccinated. Just let's get rid of this whole thing and get back to the way we were.